Last May we drove out to Utah. We bought an annual national parks pass, climbed a rock, and saw a cow. But most importantly, we visited 5 national parks in 1 week. This was my first visit to any national park, and I was hooked. So before our yearly pass ran out, we decided to try and visit one more. We picked some dates in January, and to avoid the cold, we decided to visit the lowest, hottest, and driest place on the continent, Death Valley. After a flight to Vegas, a drive down the strip in our rental truck, we drove through the night camping just outside the park boundary.
Yeah!
The next morning, we made our descent into the park through Titus Canyon. Titus Canyon Road was built to connect the town of Beatty, Nevada to the up-and-coming mining town of Leadfield, California, situated at the top of the canyon. Turns out this town was more of a product of shady advertising than it was of any actual mining potential, and within a few years it was nothing but an abandoned ghost town. However, the road remains and has since been maintained by the National Park Service. It is quite a spectacular way to enter the valley.
Very spectacular drive, and I would fully recommend it.
Death Valley is the largest national park in the lower 48. At 5,270 square miles, it surpasses the entire state of Delaware by 425 miles. Eureka Dunes Dry Camp is at the northern end of the park, and seeing as we wanted to explore some of the less visited sites of Death Valley, it became the choice for our first night within its borders. Thus we began our trek down one of the many long and unrelenting washboard roads towards our destination.
What do you think about the washboard roads?
Bumpy.
Eureka Valley is home to 2 stunning features. The first being the tall, striped cliffs of the Last Chance Mountains, and the other being the Eureka Dunes, one of the tallest dune fields in North America. Rising 680 feet above the valley floor, the dunes were quite a challenge to climb. So naturally, the top seemed like a perfect spot for a beer. The dunes here are one of only 40 known in the world as booming dunes. During certain times, wind will create a cascade of sand falling down the slope, resonating within the whole field, creating a loud, low humming noise. Or you can create the sand avalanche yourself.
I'm gonna make another one right now. Oh god! I feel like I'm walking on the moon!
After setting up camp in the shadow of the dunes and cooking some dinner, one of the brightest moons I have ever seen rose over the mountains, inspiring us to take one last late night hike. Although the hottest temperatures ever recorded were set here in Death Valley, the lack of moisture in the air contributes to large temperature swings. We awoke early in our tents to frozen water bottles and below freezing temperatures. This motivated us for an early morning drive. We set off retracing much of our path, but veering off near Ubehebe Crater and heading to one of the more mysterious parts of the park, Racetrack Playa. Ubehebe Crater was formed not by an impact, but by a steam eruption. And while heading down was easy, returning from the pit was quite strenuous. As we gained elevation driving through a pass over to the next valley, we observed many desert plants, including an entire forest of the erratic and odd Joshua trees. The Racetrack Playa is a dried-up lake bed. This rock formation on its north side is known as the Grandstand, and it was our favorite part of the area, resembling a lone island in the middle of a sun-baked sand sea. This is the location of the famous sailing stones, rocks which leave trails across the ground as they counterintuitively move across the playa. Until recently, how they moved was a mystery, but it takes a rare combination of water, wind, and ice to provide the perfect conditions for this rare march to occur. Famous explorer Roald Amundsen said adventure is just bad planning, and the plan we had for the rest of the day fell apart as we decided to drive a rental down Lippincott Road, which some consider the most dangerous road in the park. The roads we traveled so far were designated as four-wheel drive roads, and we didn't find them challenging. So a four-wheel drive high-clearance road seemed doable. But after miles of challenging roads and steep cliffs, we came to what seemed an impassable section. We spent much of our time moving rocks and filling holes, and luckily we were helped by an experienced off-roading enthusiast who arrived just after us. We made it out, but it took us much longer than anticipated, so when we arrived late to our second camp spot in the Alabama hills, we decided to spend the night in a motel instead. I didn't film much, unfortunately, but that goes to show how worried we were of actually making it out of there. Oh yeah, and this happened. After a well-rested night in a motel, we took a short drive to observe the sunrise over the mighty Sierra Nevadas and got our first glimpse of the tallest mountain in the lower 48, Mount Whitney. A goal we've had is to climb Mount Whitney, And while this wasn't part of our plan for this trip, we were still inspired to hike up a closed road and explore this amazing mountain range. After our descent from the Mount Whitney portal, we explored the Alabama Hills and Morbius Arch, before heading back to Death Valley towards the main section of the park. Our drive took us past more valleys, desert shrubs, and sand dunes, and even what looks like the most luxurious stay in the valley, passing through the towns of Stovepipe Wells and Furnace Creek. After another gravel road full of sharp rocks, we arrived at our last camp, and the only camp I've ever been to below sea level. The sun set over our last night in Death Valley, and in the morning we had 3 more stops. The lowest point in North America, Badwater Basin, a splash of color in the desert hills known as Artist Palette, and Death Valley's most popular trail, Golden Canyon.
So I was farting last night in my sleeping bag, dude. Oh god, you're filming. I never wanted to lift anything more in my whole life. Tastes just like a margarita.
We ended up back where our plane had landed, a few days, a flat tire, and many miles ago in Las Vegas. before heading home, we wanted to check out one more state park in Nevada, known as the Valley of Fire.
They gonna ram us?
I don't know. Only one way to find out. Death Valley and the surrounding area has an incredible diversity of landscapes. Snow-capped mountains rising above barren salt flats, strange rock formations, and stranger plants. A place that feels all at once like a distant planet, vast and inhospitable, but also a place I'm dying to return.
I ain't that worried about the rattlesnakes, to be honest. Any snakes in here?